Oklahomans done a great job as well. And unfortunately, they've been kind of caught up in some political games up to this point, and it's just super disappointing. I know it's disappointing for Oklahomans that we have these kind of political games happening instead of doing the business of making Oklahoma top 10 in everything that we do. Let me open it up to some questions.
Are there more members of your cabinet that might be impacted by this opinion from the Attorney General?
Sure, absolutely. When you read that opinion, it says that his opinion is that a secretary cannot be a director, and we think that affects every single person on the cabinet that serves in a director role. And what's interesting that I want Oklahomans to understand is when I got elected governor and sworn in 2019, we went back and looked at how previous governors set up their cabinet. So we went and looked at how Governor Fallin set up her cabinet, Governor Henry, Governor Keating, Governor Walters, Bellman. I mean, you can go all the way back to Bellman. And they've set up their cabinets just like we have. So we think precedent is on our side. We think the legal arguments are on our side. That's why this is such a head scratcher. Why you're weaponizing your office and coming after a political, coming after a great public servant like Tim Gatz. So it does have consequences. If you read that opinion, then Blaine Arthur can't be in her position. And so we need clarification. And I mean, just to give you the facts, Neil McCaleb, everybody knows him, great Oklahoman. He served as the director of ODOT and the secretary under Bellman, under Keating. You've got Herschel Crow, Phil Tomlinson, Gary Ridley, Mike Patterson. We're setting up our secretaries just like this. We don't want to grow government. Who would advise the governors besides the people that are running transportation? So it's common sense. We're going to win these arguments. But when you come after someone, I mean, that's like, it's just wrong, and Oklahomans don't appreciate it.
It sounds like the next stop is the Supreme Court. Is that right? You know, going to file something?
Well, we'll let the attorneys decide what to do, but when an attorney general's opinion comes out, a public servant has to follow that until you get clarification. So that's what's so disappointing here is why are you picking on Tim Gatz? And the timing of it is really peculiar. If you go back and you look at, he's been confirmed by the Senate twice. The only person that voted against him was a lady named Mary Boren, and apparently she supposedly requested this opinion, and so maybe she has an axe to grind. I don't know.
Is there a legislative option? Have you talked to leaders on both sides about possibly adding exceptions to statutes that are out there?
Yeah, we already think we've got some very, very good legal arguments and very clear statutes that gives us this authority. We think we have the Senate's number one's confirmed it. Now you're getting into separation of powers issues, but the Senate's already confirmed them. We can look at precedent, and we also have great statutes that support our position.
So, just to clarify, you had not received any other resignations from cabinet secretaries?
That's correct. This specific opinion was directed directly at Secretary Gatz.
Do you think that his resignation then may have been premature, and would you have him back then if we can get some clarification that comes out positive?
Well, no, I don't think it's premature. Our attorneys, out of an abundance of caution, when there's an opinion like that, that's got the full effect of law, and so he had to respond to that. Secretary Gatz did. So he resigned as secretary. I should say Director Gatz now. He resigned. We appointed him the very next minute to keep his position as the person that's running ODOT.
Would you have him come back then?
Oh, as secretary? Oh, absolutely. He's going to be my advisor, whether I call him advisor or we call him secretary or we call him special advisor to the governor. When I think about who do you look to help advise on transportation issues, it's the director of transportation. It's ODOT. Okay? I don't think we're dissimilar to any other state, and that's why this is such a head scratcher that all of a sudden we're trying to kick these people out of their offices, and I'm telling you, it affects people that are public servants that are here working for 34 years, and then they get their picture in the paper and they're in the middle of political games. It affects people, and that's what's so disappointing about this situation.
Are all your cabinet secretaries drawing a salary, or are they stipends? How does that work?
So the way the cabinet secretaries work, the reason we believe in smaller government, I mean, how many times y'all heard me say limited government? So if I use a director, they get their salary as doing their job. So they're basically volunteering. They don't get an extra pay. These are volunteer positions. So Director Gatz, when he sits on my cabinet as secretary, it's a volunteer position to advise me on running roads and bridges. By the way, we're number 5 in the country in bridge conditions. We're number 12 overall in infrastructure, and I am pushing my team. You guys know me as the businessman governor. I want to be top 10 in everything that we do, and when we're not top 10, we're trying to do better for the citizens of Oklahoma. But unfortunately, we're wasting a lot of taxpayer dollars messing with political games instead of moving transportation forward in Oklahoma.
You called for budget transparency in a special session before. Is the Senate process what you were looking into or thinking of, and does it concern you that the House has not changed their budget process yet?
You know, that's not exactly what I called for. What I called for was let's vote on the budget before the very, very last day. Not only for me, but Oklahomans, so they can read it and understand, but specifically legislature. I said, let's just make sure that before they vote on a budget, they at least have to get that language and that full document to the House and Senate at least 3 days before. That's all I said. It doesn't seem like that hard of a request, because what happens is they try to jam it through the very last day of session, and then there's really it's just the last day that they can do it, and they want to get it through this day because if the governor vetoes it, then they've got to have time for to override a governor's veto. So it's got to be done on this exact day. So I just said back it up 3 days at least to let people decide on it, so you can't slide through just the pork belly spending type of situations.
Are you going to appoint a new Turnpike Authority director, or what are you going to do with the opening there?
No, I don't think so. I think Joe Kelly is there. He's been the de facto running that, talking to us, talking to Gatz. So I don't know exactly what his title is, but I was there with him yesterday as we were kicking off a 6-mile stretch there in Bristow, and I'm assuming that everything is just, this is really semantics. It's what's so frustrating. So the same great workers that are working at ODOT are still going to be working at ODOT. The same people are going to be working at Turnpike Authority. It's just a title situation that he had to resign from.
You talked with former Secretary Gatz, Director Gatz. This week it was announced there were 4 men who pleaded guilty in federal court regarding price fixing on sod and other erosion control agreements. They were, I guess, bidding projects that were let through. I don't know that there's been accusations that ODOT had knowledge of it, but what is your understanding of that, and do you have any requests of ODOT as they look at this now revelation that these men have pleaded guilty to this?
Well, I'm not really read up on that specific case, but of course, when there's vendors involved and someone is taking advantage of the state of Oklahoma, they need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of vendors that the state of Oklahoma uses to do its business around the state. And if there's, the first thing you learn in auditing classes is you follow the money. And if someone is enriching themselves and doing something, illegal, you follow the money and you prosecute that person. So if these guys did something wrong, they should be prosecuted, and then let's do a internal audit investigation to make sure that there was nobody on our side that was doing something wrong. That's pretty simple.
Governor, following the death of Next Benedict, the non-binary Owasso student, I think he's from Owasso, has there been any concern from you about maybe the perception of an environment that's growing where maybe some don't feel welcome, and regarding attracting businesses? Businesses look at more than just tax policy. They look at social factors as well, and we've been making national headlines. So I just want to know if that's something you've put any consideration into, and if you have any concern that maybe that affects business recruitment.
I'm really proud of the business recruitment side, and we're top 10 in people moving to our state. So to answer your question, I don't think that Oklahoma's tax policies are keeping businesses from coming here. I think they like our business-friendly environment. Specifically on a death of a student, it's a tragedy. And we don't condone any form of bullying or violence, and it's just a tragedy. I think they're still investigating that, but again, OWASA's doing the best they can. We're not. Oklahoma, I think, is open to every single religion and thought, and we're not going against any one specific person. And there was I guess a fight that happened in a bathroom, is what I was told, and then it's just a tragedy that a young girl lost her life.
There's also comments, I'm sure you heard from a senator that seemed, were perceived as pretty inflammatory. I think it's kind of why I asked that question really more specifically, is just because it seems like there's multiple incidences of this becoming, a growing issue here.
Yeah, I ended up signing a dignity pledge. I don't know if we've rolled that out yet, but Tim Shriver, I had him come to Oklahoma, and Tim had rolled out a dignity pledge, because there's certainly too much rhetoric or attacking individual people instead of just debating the policies and debating ideas and what's the right way to move our state forward. And so let's have an honest conversation, and we may agree or disagree on certain things, but we can do it in a very friendly manner. And so I certainly condone, personal attacks or, trying to, make someone look bad or a certain group. So we don't want to do that in Oklahoma, and I think I try to lead with, let's just talk about the facts and let's not attack any one person. So that would be my message to anybody in the House, the Senate, or anybody in leadership around the state, that let's do a better job of we can disagree and we can have some honest conversations, but we don't have to be disagreeable. We don't have to attack one another and be mean-spirited about it. We can just have an honest conversation about what's the right way to move our state forward. And I think that's healthy. That's part of our democracy. That's part of what makes America so great and Oklahoma so great, is we can have these open dialogues and thoughts. And that's called the Dignity Index, and it's something that I'll be promoting more and more of.
Governor, just returning to that AG's opinion, you mentioned that other members of your cabinet could be affected. Until you all can get some clarity around this opinion, does this draw into question any of the state business that these cabinet secretaries and directors take part in, any contracts that they sign? Are there any concerns around that?
Not according to our attorney, since this was directed directly at Director Gatz and his position. But if you read the opinion, it says that you can't be a secretary and run an agency. Okay, so that's why we need clarity around it. But we're not advising our current secretaries to step down. Now, Lieutenant Governor stepped down out of an abundance of caution from the Secretary of Workforce, and so because when you read that, it said that if he didn't step down before that opinion, then he would have had to vacate the lieutenant governor's position, which is just absolute nonsense. That Oklahomans would have found that to be really, really funny to think about him vacating the lieutenant governor position because he was serving as the Secretary of Workforce. And again, I have a great relationship with Matt Pinnell, and he does a great job of promoting our state with tourism and workforce, and that's a passion of his. So I wanted to give him a position. And when you weaponize and you start attacking political opponents and people, it's just super frustrating. I think Oklahomans see that. You look and see what happened with the district attorney in New York attacking Trump. I don't care if it's Trump's business or Biden's business or XYZ business. When you start seeing, random $355 million judgments when nobody lost any money, that's going to have a long tail on it. That's going to affect New York businesses, and we invite all New York businesses to come to Oklahoma because we don't want to do that here.
Do you have any plans to vote for President Trump on Tuesday? What's your vote going to be on?
I've already sent in my absentee ballot and voted for President Trump. Yes, absolutely. My prediction is he's going to win Oklahoma.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.